Enter 1885. 1885 is a very, very sad day in the history of Africa. It's just the thought of it makes my heart bleed. 1885 is the year that the King of Belgium, Leopold II, decided to convene the International African Association, and in the Berlin Conference, he officially set up the colonization of Africa. You know, when I say Africa, I refer to it almost like it's a country, but we all know Africa is a continent. But to me, it doesn't really matter because Africa never needed to be a bundle of countries. It was always, and what I prefer to call it is, the land of a thousand beautiful kingdoms getting along together. Anyway, so back to what happened in 1885. This insane fella, King Leopold of Belgium, he read a little bit of history and about Africa, and since Belgium was one of the poorest European countries, he decided to do something to try to improve, to try to make a mark and improve the Belgian economy. So, in his evil mind, he conspired and, invited these other ignorant people, and, they had this conference where they so-called planned to civilize the dark African continent. A very, very sad thing to notice. This is a statue of King Leopold in Palace de Tron in Belgium, Brussels. He's still revered in Belgium. I mean, this guy is the Hitler of Africa. This guy caused the Holocaust of Africa. There's a website that has it described. It's called it's africanholocaust.net, and it has a lot of information. You can get a lot of information about the history of Africa and the damage, to Africa on africanholocaust.net. So this sick, insane fella, King Leopold II of Belgium, I'm reading from NigerRiders.com website, where it says, during the Belgian conference, when he convened, he said, "Gentlemen, allow me to thank you warmly for your willingness to have, with which you have accepted my invitation. What they want to do is to open to civilization the only part of our globe where she has not yet penetrated." This is so ridiculous and such a lie and so insane. To pierce the darkness that envelopes entire populations is, I may venture to say, a crusade worthy of this century of progress. You can see keywords crusade, the same word George Bush uses when he wants to attack the Arab world, crusade. This is a word that's put in place sometimes to gain a type of support. A crusade worthy of this century of progress, and I am glad to observe how very, very favorable public feeling is to this accomplishment. You see, this very sick fellow created this lie, this propaganda that they want to civilize a dark continent, whereas Africa was very, very civilized. We've already seen in earlier parts of this documentary the development, the organization, the peace that Africa had. That Africans in countries in Africa used to trade with the West. A lot of people, they could speak. The king of Benin could speak Portuguese. They used to trade with Portugal. But this guy claimed that they were going to do some kind of gracious work in civilizing this so-called dark continent. And this is why whenever we study what's happening, we notice a pattern that whenever they go to places like the French go to Mali, you find books and you find libraries. Mali had so many universities and libraries. They steal the books and use the information in the books to help develop their society. And then they burn down the evidence. They burn down cities. They burn down Benin City. They burn cities down, steal the books. Alexandria goes to Egypt, steals the books, burns it down. This is what they did throughout. Because since the whole proposition of going to civilize Africa was what the International African Association came up with, if civilization is found, then automatically their actions become illegal. So the justification of their actions is Africa is uncivilized. Now, when you think of civilization, the first thing you're thinking about, a lot of people, you debate with people and they say, oh, if Africa was so civilized, how come they didn't have any writing systems? That it's the European who taught Africans how to write. I think that is very, very, it's very, very unfortunate that people are uninformed, and the history of Africa has been lost to such an extent that people think it's Europeans who taught Africans how to write. I have an image here. This is Congo. This is the very part of Africa, the Congo Basin, where Leopold, destroyed. He caused a Holocaust of this place, like 5 times the Jewish Holocaust. He reduced the population of 30 million to as low as 5 million and cut off hands of the rest. We'll talk about that in the next part. But this is when the Dutch ambassadors came to greet the king of Congo. This is a picture that describes when Dutch ambassadors came to greet the king of Congo. This is what they saw. But then they destroy all of this. They steal your language. They steal everything. They destroy your language, and then they put another language on you and basically destroy your history. And that was the picture. So now back to the writing. NigerianWiki.com, great website, has a very, very good article on this. It's called African Writing Systems. Or you could just Google it or look for African writing systems and find out this information. There's no justification not to know this, because this history has been lost, but all our children should learn this. That is the only way to fix Africa, by Africans recognizing who they are, what they were, and then they'll know and be able to determine and self-determine where they are going, which direction they are headed. Okay. In this article, it states right here in bold, it's rather interesting to note that no alphabet is known to have ever been formed by Europeans. This is a shocker, but I'm not going in this documentary into a debate on Africa being superior or reverse racism, or stuff like that. Not at all. We all know about Egyptian writing, Egyptian hieroglyphic. Now, when people talk about it, they say, oh, the Egyptians, those weren't Africans, they have writing. We've proven in part one that there was black Nubians who were the pharaohs, and the development there and the writing is black writing and black development. The Sphinx, we've seen the face of the Sphinx is a typical black man's face. We've also seen that the Olmec civilization of South America, Mesoamerica, is the same black Nubians. It's been, once you Google it, you find it out. I think that was discussed in part one. The same direction. You have pyramids, you have more pyramids in Sudan, and you have pyramids too in South America from these same people, and Mali language spoken in South America. So you've understood that it's Nubians who had all this development, and we are talking about Egyptian hieroglyphics 5,000 years old. Ethiopians too had the Ge'ez script, which is also a couple thousand years old. Now most people know these and recognize this as African, but what else? There is much more. Sudan is closely linked, because it's the Sudanese who had kings who went to Egypt and stuff like this. Sudan has its own writing, very similar to the writings of Egypt and Ethiopia. So you have the Sudanese script, right? This is it right here. But not only that, you keep going across Africa, you have the Afan Oromo script. Remember the what's his name? The whole let me say precept of going to Africa was to aka civilize people who were uncivilized. Now we've seen the development, we've seen all that aspect, and now we are seeing all these writings, great writings all across Africa. Africans had developed so many parallel writing forms. This is Bassa script of Liberia. This is the Vai script, West Africa. Mende script of Sierra Leone. You have the Nsibidi script of Nigeria. Tifang script of Liberia. You have the Banum script. You can see all these things on NigerianWiki.com, African writing systems, or Google it. Cornell, a lot of these articles are from Cornell University. You have the Kukai script. You have so many Nko script. And the Mandobe script. This Mandobe script, we'll talk about it again. This is from Congo, the same Congo that King Leopold, caused the Holocaust on. Now, it's very interesting to note that there were all these different writing systems in Africa parallelly developed when the Europeans are not even known to have developed a single writing system. We had all these calligraphies and orthographies. Books were written. This is a very interesting book reading, Enjoya's magnum opus, which wrote about government, and Africans were writing about collecting their history. We can all see the direction of progress that Africa was taking, the path Africa was on before their culture was stolen away, books were carted away, everything was burnt, their whole history, everything was destroyed, and they became brand new people. This king of Shimon people of Cameroon had even invented a self-sustaining writing system and a bronze cast printing set device to document the histories of his people. He had made a printing machine to print books. This is history everybody must know. Our children must know. The only way to revive Africa is by letting people know exactly who they are, where they come from, the powers within them, what was robbed of them, so that they can now move ahead powerfully and courageously, knowing who they are, not the way it is with so much lost history where people don't know, and people are ignorant and they say, Africans couldn't write, the white man taught him how to write. It's sad. All right, so we'll continue about the Leopold's Holocaust in the next segment.